All right, here we are, MikEd, episode 3. How's it going, Michael?
Believe how far we've come? Thought they would have canceled us after the half of the first episode.
Yeah, I spoke to the network, and we're still on very thin ice.
Yeah, we've got to watch our language and no making fun of the celebrities.
Yeah. A couple of people actually have asked me, so what is the point of this podcast? Which, in fairness, means at least a couple of people have watched it, so
yeah,
that's good. What is the point?
See, in my mind, I feel like we're doing the work of legends that have come before us. We're just doing it in a different medium, you know. Jerry Seinfeld made millions and millions of dollars, one of the most memorable television shows of all time, about nothing.
Yeah, it was about nothing.
About zero, nothing.
But it was also kind of about everything, wasn't it?
Yeah, it ended with them all in jail, which our stories haven't ended with all of us in jail yet.
Well, it's only episode 3.
That's true. We are going to Vegas tomorrow.
Yep. So the odds have gone up slightly.
Slightly. But everything's allowed in Vegas.
That's right.
It's all the hangover.
Yeah.
Was Seinfeld a big thing back in England back in the 90s?
Yeah, it was fairly popular. The A-Team was much more popular.
The A-Team, yeah.
And then there was a show called Airwolf. It was a
I remember the helicopter
was,
one. Yeah, that was a great
up.
show. Yep.
Seinfeld was fairly popular. Friends was popular.
Really?
Yeah.
Friends hanging out in the coffee shop. So this is funny. One time I was was interviewing this guy in Knoxville, Tennessee, entry level outside sales job.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, vaguely. At the time, the client was Bell South. We were doing business to business phone and internet sales.
Okay.
And this would have been probably 2006, so prior to the Great Recession, but you know, kind of saw it on the horizon. And this kid, he was a barista. He worked at Starbucks. He was a barista. Up until interviewing him, I didn't know what a barista was.
Yeah, you make the coffee.
Yeah, and so we did this interview. His final interview. We showed him a day in the life of outside sales, going business to business. Again, telephone and internet is what we were selling. And in his final interview, he says, "Yeah, you know, it's interesting, but honestly, it would concern me a little bit because you know I think the economy is going to take a downturn, and I don't think people are going to be spending money on telephone and internet anymore." And I looked at him, and I was like, "Are you serious?" Yeah. I go, "Honestly, brother, if the economy goes the wrong way, the first thing people are going to cut out is $8 cups of coffee. That's not necessary. But I promise you, the internet and phones aren't going to go anywhere. They'll evolve a little bit, but your barista job is probably not very safe." So.
Yeah. Well, one thing I've learned from pitching, you know, territories along the way, you can be in the hood. I pitched a lady one time that literally had a hole in her roof. And it'd been there for a while to the point where the carpet in her living room had kind of rotted away. But she had a big TV and she had a smartphone.
Yeah, that's it.
So
it's the necessities.
For what it's worth.
Yep.
So here we are, second week in January.
Yep, indeed.
A lot of people have probably already given up on their New Year's resolutions.
Probably.
The gym has already thinned out.
Yep.
I wouldn't know because I never went last week or this week, but that's what I hear.
No, in theory, I imagine that you're accurate, though.
Yeah. I heard on the radio that the first week of January is the most popular week of the year. It's the busiest week for dating apps.
Is that right?
Because everyone's ready for a change.
Makes sense.
Yeah. You got any good dating stories, Mike?
Any good dating stories? Yeah, one time I went on a date with a young lady, Russian girl, who worked at the local bar. Turns out that wasn't her only job. She was a working girl in more ways than one. I didn't know that prior to the date.
Sure. Go ahead.
She ended up getting sick. Threw up on the side of my car. Brought her home to her roommate, who was angry at me.
Even though you brought her home.
Even though I brought her home, safe in one piece,
nice,
fully clothed. And that was our last first date. I wasn't much of a dater though. I was more of a go out in groups and pair up as the night develops kind of guy. No.
My favorite date story. I didn't go on too many dates either. Just kind of went with the flow.
Yeah.
But I was bartending back in the day, back in Buckhead at Jelly Rolls, and it was always very loud in there, so you couldn't really get a good conversation. You couldn't get a good feel of what was going on, but you could get a phone number. Mm-hmm. So I met this girl, attractive for sure. Got a number. Said, let's go out for dinner. Dinner and a movie. At the time, Titanic had just come out. So we went for dinner, and we're sitting there, getting things going. And one of her first questions was, so when did you learn to speak English? And she was from like North Georgia. And I was like, well, I'm from England. And she goes, uh-huh. So did you learn when you came over here? I was like, no. What? No, they speak English in England. Right. So that was when I was first onto her, that she may not have been the brightest crayon in the box. We then settled up the tab, went to the movies. You remember the movie Titanic?
Yeah. Brad and Leo were talking about it at the Golden Globes the other night.
Yeah. So about halfway through, we'll get to the Golden Globes here in a minute.
Okay, it's on the list.
Halfway through the movie, maybe not even halfway through, but whenever Leonardo gets invited to the dinner, he has to borrow the tuxedo.
Yeah, it's all dolled up.
And there's that scene where he's at the top of the stairs, looking nice. She leans over to me and she goes, is this still on the boat? I was like, yeah. What do you think they are right now? Like inside an iceberg or something? And then at the very, very, very end of the movie, we're like 3 hours in, and Leonardo had already drifted off into the ocean. He'd slipped off the piece of wood.
Froze off the massive piece of wood that she was floating on.
Yep. Kate Winslet, Rose, is on that piece of wood, and there's like a boat with the searchlights, and she's blowing the whistle. Help! And she leaned over to me and she goes, do you think Rose is going to die?
Rose is telling the story.
From the jump.
Yes, from the start. She's the old lady.
Anyway, so that was a one and done. But
I was going to say, how was the second date?
Never happened.
So it's actually terrible because this girl who I'm about to reference is still a very dear friend of mine. And we were young. We were in high school. And we went to the movies. And in the year prior, her father had passed away of cancer. Right? And this is not a setup to a joke the way that you tell them. This is a legit true story. But we were going to see a movie, and we went and saw Armageddon.
Shit movie.
So here we go. It's
horrible movie.
Bruce Willis is going to save the world, and it's going to feel like Independence Day. Until you get to the end, and you realize that there's the daughter and the father is going to sacrifice himself to save the world, which he does. And you get a little chills. Now I'm a sucker for Bruce Willis, beautiful man, nice hair too. But girl's father just passed away, and it was the absolute worst movie that we could have possibly chosen to go see at that moment in time.
I'm just now putting two and two together.
It was brutal, and so
good choice of movie selection there, Mike.
Killed the mood. Very dear. We shared a moment. We bonded, and still a great friend to this day.
So back to the Golden Globes.
How about that, huh?
Yeah. Everyone's talking about old Ricky Gervais.
So I think British humor, I feel like, I picture Mr. Bean. Ricky definitely went the opposite route.
Well, the reason he's interesting and people are talking about it is because he's un-PC, and everyone's so PC now. Mm-hmm. You got to be so careful what you say.
Yep.
I don't know if I like that. I think everyone's way too sensitive these days. It's a joke. It was a joke. And I was actually thinking about some of the stuff I used to do in my office back in the day, whether or not I could get away with it now.
You could not.
I'll give you an example.
Promise you can.
Well, I'm interested. So maybe we can get some emails from our three viewers.
Let's set up a poll. Can you do this in 2020?
So
yes, no? We'll have different examples.
So I'll give you one example.
Okay.
It was very good for business. Everyone was happy about it. Everyone had a good time. I had an ongoing bonus in my office that if anyone could come back from the field with a midget and bring them into atmosphere, I would give the midget $100 and the sales rep $100. And it was like, went on for a while. And then eventually one of the guys came back with a midget. And I brought him into my office, and it was interesting. He had tattooed on his knuckles. On this knuckle it said bite, and on this knuckle it said size. Put it together, bite size. His name was Bite Size Stevie. Can't make this up. And he had business cards.
I hope bite-sized Stevie is somewhere in Denver, Colorado
Yes.
right now hearing this and gets a little boost in his business.
Absolutely. And he had his card, and he was like, Bite Size Stevie. And he had, you can rent me out. And he actually...
You can rent me out.
Yeah, he could do tossing and all kinds of stuff on his card. And he told me that he was one of the midgets that was jumping on the trampolines in the Blink 182 video, all the small things.
Small things.
So anyway, I built up a little bit of a relationship with Bite Size, and it was towards the end of the year. And as a surprise for the office, on the last day of the year, we'd been running a Christmas bonus, and people were earning raffle tickets for the TV and all the other stuff we had. And I came out as Santa Claus, ho ho ho, and then right behind me came Bite Size Stevie. I dressed him up like an elf. He had pointy ears, green little suit. And he pulled out the raffle tickets, and everyone loved it.
I'm sure. So Michelle, can you do that in 2020? That might be. You might be able to pull that one off.
I think you should be able to, but that's what I'm concerned these days.
Yeah.
For the kids out there.
Ricky Gervais would approve.
Sure.
He would let you do it for sure. It's funny. I took my office to a midget wrestling event. I've actually done it twice now. That's quite an experience. And those little guys are foul. Yeah, it's just dirty and raunchy. So
ankle biters.
I think you can get away with it, but it can't be mandatory these days. You can't require your people to be exposed to midget wrestling. You can invite them, optional.
Okay, is that that's the line?
I think that's the rule.
I actually went to a midget wrestling event, but it wasn't. None of them were midgets. They were just short. I don't know what it takes to be a midget, but I remember being disappointed and wanting my $10 cover back.
Yeah, it's false advertising.
Yeah. Anyway.
So, what else? The Golden Globes, they talked a bit about politics, talked a bit about fire in Australia.
Yeah, it's rough.
Terribly sad. What else? Anything good? What else can I mean, the biggest thing I've been seeing all these headlines, the animals, all the freaking animals that are dying down there. I think there's been too many human casualties, but millions of animals. I know you're an animal lover. You
I
got
am.
A couple dogs.
Yeah, they say that 500 million animals have died. It's awful.
Freaking nuts.
Yeah, thanks for bringing up that bright spot.
Yeah. Well, so talk about your dog. Your dogs are cheery. They're your
Oh,
dogs, yeah. You got animals. No birds, no cats. You got a couple dogs.
2 dogs.
And they're definitely fun.
Yeah, I've always had a dog ever since I can remember. Dogs are the best.
Pippa. What's Pippa's breed?
She's a Mastiff Shepherd mix. She's just a big girl. You did.
Pippa. Yeah.
You did name her.
She's massive. And then Oscar is the old guy, and he's a son of a bitch.
He is. He's part collie, part maybe pit, and a lot kind of just psycho. He's got some squirrels in his head for sure.
Well, he's obsessed with squirrels. Didn't he cost a lot of money going after squirrels?
Yeah, he did. It cost me $10,000 because I got ripped off. But I was renting a house, and this is probably 7 or 8 years ago. I was renting the house, and they had these little pine trees out the kitchen door. And if you said to Oscar, "Squirrel," he would run over to the trunks and go "Ah," and would bite the trunk. And he bit some of the bark off. And anyway, I had a $10,000 deposit on the house, and then when we moved out, the guy said that I wasn't getting my deposit back because he had to take care of the bark on the trees.
Bark is expensive these days,
I guess. Yeah. So anyway,
remember when Oscar was a puppy? You were living in that the condo downtown, and I brought my dog over. So my dog was considerably bigger than Oscar at the time. At Vegas, remember her? And so brought Vegas over at dinner or whatever. And from the second we walked in, for about 2 hours, Oscar as a puppy just friggin' barked in Vegas's ear, just yap.
I remember this.
Yap. He barked at her, and I was pretty proud of my dog because she kind of held herself, and it was annoying the adults, the human beings, way more than it seemed to be annoying Vegas. But after legitimately 2 hours of straight barking, Vegas got pissed and turned and snapped and got Oscar right on the snout, at which point he squealed, ran to the other side of the room, pissed himself, and then fucking whimpered the whole rest of the night in the corner.
Yeah, you can only push a dog so far. I was playing golf in Scotland a few years ago, and we all had caddies, and we get to this hole, and there's water like the ocean all the way down the right, rocky, jagged nastiness all the way to the right. And my buddy gets up on the tee and he says to the caddy, "So what's the story here on this hole?" And the caddy goes, "Don't go right." And my buddy's a little bit of a smart ass. He goes, "Oh yeah, tell me something I don't know." And the caddy goes, "I've got a dog." I bet you didn't know that. I don't know if that's funny, but I think it is.
Yeah, there's something there.
Yeah, that's something to do with a dog. That's how my brain works.
All right, so hold on. So I don't know if you want to tell this story because it might be a little bit embarrassing, but I guess, yeah, we're among friends. So speaking of that condo that you had downtown, and speaking of your dog, Oscar, I vaguely remember a story about an elevator and Oscar. If you're uncomfortable sharing, then I could do my best to paraphrase.
No, I think we just skip that. Skip that story till season 2.
Season 2. Stay tuned. Stay tuned for Oscar and the condo downtown in the elevator, and I promise you will not want to miss that episode.
Oof. So. Yeah, Jesus.
So Eddie, we're going to Las Vegas tomorrow.
Yes, we are. Viva tomorrow. Las Vegas.
Yep. It's our big, we're going for business.
Yeah, it's all work.
Yearly kickoff meeting. You and I have been to Vegas twice, I think, in the past together. Right? I've been, I think, a couple other times. I'm sure you've been a couple other times. We went for your bachelor party.
Yep.
Right? You're
one
American,
of two, the American
party.
leg.
Yep. And then we were there for business again. Anything? So if I'm a listener who's never been to Vegas, any words of advice you could share for someone who might be making their first trip to Sin City?
My number one piece of advice would be you don't need to be there any more than 3 days.
Correct. Yep. I agree.
It's always interesting or amusing to me. On the flight out to Vegas, everyone's dressed all nicely. They're full of hope and dreams. They're sharp. They're excited. I've been on a few flights where the air flight attendant is like handing out cards and they're doing games and stuff, and everyone's woo. And then 72 hours later, people are coming back on that flight just destroyed. Mm-hmm. They've basically given up on life.
All they have is
and they just want to get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
So 3 days is the absolute max. You really only need to be there for 2 nights.
Yeah, I think Thursday through Sunday is the max. You do a Thursday through Sunday in Las Vegas, you get your money's worth. I don't even gamble.
No. So. Well, and the other thing you need to be very cognizant of is there's loads of multi-billion-dollar casinos all over the place, and they didn't build those based on the fact that they've been losing.
Yeah, the house always wins.
the table is always slanted very much towards the house. So as long as you go in knowing that,
Yep.
have a little bit of fun. But yeah, it's an interesting place, Vegas. In fact, I do remember the bachelor party, and you were there in body
I was there in
for the
body.
first 12 hours. Not
First
so
12
much.
hours.
I felt like
I was all full of hope on the way. On the way, I was full of ton of
you
hope.
were full of something
So
on the way.
I don't like to fly. It's not my favorite thing to do. It makes me uneasy, anxious, if you will. Met a nice girl at the airport in Atlanta. I was at a pretty dark spot in life, though, if you recall at that point, Ed. You know, I was piloting a campaign that wasn't really a campaign. I was trying to do sales that weren't really possible to do.
Was that when we were selling cloud services before anyone understood what the cloud was, including us?
We were selling cloud backup, business to business. And I would be in small town Georgia, and I'd be telling Cletus that we were going to take all the important information that his business has, and we were going to save it for him up in the cloud. And he'd look out the window. He didn't understand. And then I would explain, no, it's not really a cloud, Cletus. It's a big computer server that's buried in the desert. And that sounded creepier
Even
than the
shadier.
cloud. Yeah, that was even worse. And so I was making $40 a day per diem plus
Solid.
commission.
Go
plus
ahead.
commission. But there's no commission if there's no sales. So it's $40 a day.
Got it.
5-day work week. So that was $200 before taxes. So I was coming home with about $160 a week after taxes. My diet at the time, which is odd because now I'm a health coach, much like you.
Yes, you are.
My diet at the time consisted of 6-pack of Natural Light, wheat thin crackers, and Easy Cheese. So I'd eat, half
solid.
a box of crackers every night with Easy Cheese and drink 6 Natural Lights to dull the pain, and then I'd reload and do it again. So Ed's getting married. Oh, bachelor party's in Las Vegas. I go, Ed, have fun. In Las Vegas on my $200 a week salary, not probably a very good idea.
But obviously you went.
Well, yeah, of course I went.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
I said, if you can figure out how to get there, I'll take care of you. All right. So I figured out how to get there. So I got a flight at 9 o'clock in the morning. I had no ride, no way to get to the airport. So my roommate dropped me off at like 6. So I had 3 hours to kill at the airport. Met a young lady at the airport bar who didn't like flying either.
Oh, she had something in common.
Yeah, and we were on the same flight to Las Vegas. So some tequila and some medicine to take the edge off, and then ease the nerves a little bit. Got me on the flight. Got me to Las Vegas. Got me to where we stayed. The Mirage. Is that where we stayed?
Forget one of those.
I vaguely remember seeing everybody at the pool when we got to Las Vegas. And then nap time hit. And then I remember opening my eyes again, and it was 3 a.m. And I'm in a hotel room in Las Vegas.
And you arrived at what, noon?
I got there, probably 9 o'clock flight. So, I probably arrived about noon Vegas time. And it's 3 a.m. And I open my eyes. I'm like, shit, Eddie's gone. All my buddies are gone. I missed the bachelor party.
And what you don't remember was it was like in that movie Airplane where that lady's hysterical and they're all trying to calm her down and everyone's taking turns and, the guy with the baseball bat.
Yeah.
All of us had gone up to the room and tried to wake you up. And every time somebody came down to the swimming pool, the next person was like, I'll wake him up. I got it.
They didn't realize who they were dealing with. Yeah, it was a dark spot. I was
you were tired.
I was sleeping off about 3 months worth of pain at that moment. But so I woke up. Go, get dressed. I go down. It's now 3:15 in the morning. I know everybody's still out because no one's back at the room. And I start calling people. And this is 2009, so cell phones weren't what they are today. So if someone's in a casino, right, people don't have service. So I just walk out of I believe it was the Mirage. Walk out of the Mirage, make a right-hand turn. I'm just heading down Las Vegas Boulevard.
Tight to the right.
Yeah, and I'm calling. Grab a couple beverages on the way. Get all the way down to New York, and then JP answers his phone. He says, "Hey, no, we're at the Venetian." Where's the Venetian? It's right across the street from the Mirage. So I walk a mile down Las Vegas Boulevard. I turn around and walk a mile back.
Well, you needed the fresh air, probably.
Yeah. So now it's 4 o'clock in the morning. Going to the nightclub at the Venetian. go straight to the bar. I go, need 2 shots of tequila, one for myself, one for the bachelor. And then I can't find you. Found a friend, Malcolm. So I see him like, well, I'm not going to give it to Malcolm. I took 2 shots of tequila. And hey, Malcolm, where's Ed? Ed is, last time I saw him, he was at the poker table. So now I'm, cruising the casino at the Venetian, and I find you. And it's funny because, again, this has now happened now 2 visits in a row, you and I in Vegas. At some point, we end up walking outside from being in an enclosed area with the sun rising behind us. And it's like 7 o'clock in the morning. And you're like, how the hell did we get to 7 o'clock in the morning?
Time flies.
It does. And so
when
that's
you're
Las
having
Vegas.
fun.
So just be ready for that. If it's your first time going to Las Vegas, be ready for the unexpected. And you're probably better off going to bed at 11. Probably.
But who's going to do that?
Not me.
No, me neither, Michael.
So, yeah. That's it.
That's it. That was it.
That was my Vegas advice. Stay away from the random girls in the airport. Don't sleep through the party. Go to sleep by 11. If you do 2 out of 3, you're all right.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. All right.
What about you? Any good Vegas stories?
I mean, at the time they were probably fun, but on reflection, no good ones.
Very good. Well, I'm sure we'll have at least one more that we can share next week.
Down the road.
Yeah, PG.
For sure.
We'll build something this weekend.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's that.
Fun little jaunt down memory lane. You still owe us a story about the elevator.
We'll save that one for when we need the ratings.
All right. Yeah. Very good. Well, it's been fun as always.
It's been real. Cheers.